Hello, Chef Dave here. We're gonna do a brisket like everybody else has done a brisket on. We're gonna do it pretty simple. I'm just gonna trim it up, a little salt and pepper, put it on the smoker. We're gonna use pellet smoker today, being a little lazy. Don't feel like firing up the wood in the middle of the summertime. So let's get at it. I'm gonna go ahead and take a lot of this top layer off here. We're gonna save this for, we're gonna make some smoked tallow while we're doing it. We're gonna go ahead and put it in like an aluminum pan, trim it up into smaller pieces, and then we're gonna put that on the smoker as well, and we'll get some nice flavored oil so we can use for, green beans or potatoes or whatever else. I wanna take all of it off. Just wanna leave enough on here to really, a little bit of fat, but I wanna get most of this stuff off. Trim this side up a little bit to make it straight. We'll put that beef in this one for ground beef. It's gonna make a lot of tallow. Jeez. Over here, get in there. We'll trim this edge off here. We can use that for more ground beef. A little bit of this tip here, just square it up. We'll trim that later and separate the fat off of it. There we go. Take this big old chunk right there off. Look at that. A big old piece. Throw that over there in the meat. Not too worried about leaving fat on the top. I'm gonna leave this down here on the flat. It's a little bit leaner of the part of the brisket. There's two muscles that run through here. A leaner one on the bottom, fattier one on the top. So we can take all this fat off and not have to worry about it getting dried out when we get that season on the meat. So, yeah, it looks like we're going there. All right, and over. You know what, I think I'm gonna leave that fat on the bottom. There's a big old cluster over here. I'm probably gonna cut a little bit of that out. You can't see what I'm doing, but that big chunk of fat in there. There's still some more in here. We'll trim it down a little more, but I'm gonna leave the majority of it just to kind of hold the brisket together. There's a little bit of this muscle here. I'm gonna go ahead and square that off. That'll make some good ground beef right there. That way you can kind of see the end of it. See that side over here? A little bit more fat. And there's a nice big piece of fat in there. I'm gonna leave that too. Not gonna be too picky about that. We can separate that fat later on after we cook it, but at least it's gonna hold this brisket together instead of cutting all that out. So next, we'll do salt and pepper only. So let's go through it. I did some fresh cracked salt with the mortar and pestle here, but you can use whatever kind of, or pepper, excuse me, you can use whatever kind of grind you want. I like a bigger grind. I think it sticks a little better. And we're gonna use, of course, sea salt. Pat that in there real nice. And I'm gonna put a little bit of oil in there. Not very much, I just wanna get that salt and pepper to stick. You can use a binder like mustard or mayo, ketchup, whatever you like. I like the oil. It's got a little artificial butter flavor in it that I think goes really good on the brisket, and it gives it a nice crust on it. If you don't like the artificial stuff, you're more than welcome to use whatever you like. Try to get the ends as well. Not too worried about getting it on the fat itself. Like I said, we're probably gonna trim that off, but all right. A little more binder. Now, a couple things you can do with this. You can let this sit 24 hours. I'm gonna let this one sit 4 hours a day before we put it on the smoker. I just want the salt to get into it a little bit. The longer it sits, the deeper that salt's gonna get, kind of like a dry brine. I'm not too worried about getting salt all the way through it. I'm looking more for the flavor of the smoke and the fat in there, and let's go from there. Now, it's been 4 hours. We're gonna go ahead and put the meat on the grill. I'm gonna go ahead with the fat side up. Although we trimmed it off, I want this fattier muscle on top. I'm gonna put the heavier end on this pellet smoker down here because our main heat source is right in here. We're gonna cook it a little bit like this. We'll turn it some, and then we're gonna end up wrapping it eventually. But if you leave it here too long, you're gonna end up burning the bottom because, like I said, the pot is right there, just hitting on it. So I have this set at 250 degrees. What we're gonna do is let that go for about 4 hours. All right, so 4 hours after that, we'll come back, check it out. If we have a nice crust on it, we'll go ahead and wrap it in some pink butcher paper. So I came out here ready to put in my digital thermometer. I'm gonna put one in the fatty side and one in the lean side. That way I can tell what each piece of meat is doing. Let's put it through. Right about like that. We like to leave that one piece out because it gives us the ambient temperature of our smoker here as well. So far it's been about an hour. We'll check back on it another hour or two. Now we're at the point that I want to put on my beef fat that I trimmed off. I'm going to do some smoked tallow, and then I have some trimmings from pork butt that I'm going to smoke and make some pulled pork. So earlier I put the top rack on. What I'm going to do is spin this brisket around, get it off that hot spot. Over here against the wall a little bit. Put this on right here, right over the jet, so we can get some heat onto that and start rendering that fat. And we're gonna put some of this pork on too. Big bone in the way. Actually, I did forget. We're going to spin that, crush it over there. Get some beef tips in there too. Pack that whole thing in there. We're going to let that go. I think we're at 2 hours now. We're going to finish off with about 2 more hours on that, and then we'll come out here and check. Still at 250. And then after that, we're going to kick that down to 225. Let it cook a little low and slow. All right, so we're gonna make a little bit of regular tallow out of the brisket meat as well. Just some fat. putting it in this oven, convection, 275 degrees. And we're gonna render that for all right, so we're gonna render that for a couple hours and see how much liquid fat we can get out of it. Might end up cranking up the temperature. So earlier, I went in, I took the top rack off, I pulled out the tasso, or the fat, to put it in the oven to finish it off. It's got a little smoke on it, so I have that smoke flavor. I moved the pork down to the bottom rack and reposition this to get a little bit of a mopping sauce on it. Just a little bit of that vinegar mopping sauce to give it some nice flavor and get that bark that we're looking for. We're about 3.5 hours now, almost 4 hours. Just all over it. Get some on the pork. Come back later and we'll flip it all over, do the other side, but right now we're just going to let that kind of reduce down and caramelize on top of the meat. Now what we're going to do is flip the brisket over. Nice and hot there. See that side there, we're not overcooking it too much. That's really not much of a bark on it. Brush a little bit of this mopping sauce on there. Let that go for a while. We're going to flip over all these porks. Good smoke on them. Right there, like that. Brush those down too. Not too worried about getting too much on here. Just want to keep the skin moist. So there's some more smoke on it. We're going to put that in barbecue anyway. Brisket, not so much. All right, fill this up, and we're gonna leave the temperature at 250. All right, we'll come back in a couple hours and wrap it in some pink butcher paper. Now we're back to wrap this. I got enough of the smoke on it for myself. You can go a little more, a little less, depending on your taste. The reason I'm wrapping it in pink butcher paper, one, pink butcher paper is a thing. It's actually what this paper is made for. Other papers have wax and bleach and all kinds of other stuff in it. This is actually natural paper that is good for food and will not get over moisturized and fall apart. So, with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and flip this over back to our fat side up. Come up over. Just try to cover up as much of it as I can. Now that's back on there. I'm gonna go set this on the grill. I'm going to drop the temperature down to 225, and then we're going to start our long cook. We're going to go pretty much overnight with this, still checking the thermometer every couple hours just to make sure that we're not burning it. So that's it. We're back now to finish off the beef tallow. It's been cooking in the oven at 305 degrees for about an hour or so. It's rendered out pretty good. Got some nice fat out of it. See down in there. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and strain that batch out right there. And then I have the smoked batch that we had in the smoker for a couple hours. I'm going to go ahead and mix these two together. So I get that smoked goodness. And The last thing I'm gonna do, go ahead and combine these two together. So I bet you we can get another couple cups out of this easily. Put that in there. You can see how well it came out. After that comes the room temperature. It'll turn to a solid white brick. All right. It is time to pull this off and stick it in some aluminum foil and rest it in ice chest. Got my foil ready over here. I'm gonna stick it in this hot bag for about 8 hours and let it rest. It's been, how many hours now? About 12, 14 hours. So we'll open it up here after it gets a good rest. Now we are at the finish here. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this one in half to see how we did on the smoke. This is after the rest. I let it go a little farther. I'm gonna use this some other day. So I'm gonna put it in the refrigerator. Normally I wouldn't cut it, I just put it in whole like that and then heat it back up in the oven. 200, 225 degrees. But just for today's sake, let's see how, oh yeah, that's nice. Went right through there. Looks pretty good to me. Meats are separated. So I hope y'all enjoyed the 1/1000th brisket version of the videos. Thank you.